Dragon.
When I saw Thunder Dragon get announced for Arcade Archives, my first thought was, nice, I wonder if that means we'll see Thunder Dragon 2 eventually. However, having spent a good few hours playing this release, I've realised I was being unfairly dismissive towards this original game. Now, Thunder Dragon is not a visual spectacle, it doesn't push the boat out mechanically, and it's basically a Raiden clone, even going so far as to use the same first character in its Japanese title, but it's also a solidly fun game in its own right, and one I've been having a really good time with. In Thunder Dragon, you take control of a helicopter, seemingly for the American military, to beat back the regular hordes of mechanical foes. It doesn't, to be honest, have a whole lot of character. Mechanically, the game is as simple as they come. You shoot with one button and you bomb with another. Your helicopter sprite will shift position as you change directions, but this doesn't actually have any impact on your movement. You start with the regular pea shooter, but power-ups begin appearing very early and remain plentiful throughout the game. At first you will see the shot power-up cycling between the numbers 1 and 2. 1 is a spread shot, and 2 is a more focused and more powerful shot. Keep picking up the same number to upgrade your shot and you'll eventually end up with not just some satisfyingly powerful weapons, but big visual changes to your shot too, with the number 2 type becoming a very cool kind of fiery laser when maxed out. As you get further in the game, you'll start seeing a 3/4 power-up, with 3 giving you lasers that shoot in multiple directions and bounce off the edges of the screen, and 4 giving you a very powerful missile barrage that at max level covers most of the width of the screen and will make short work of almost anything you come into contact with. Honestly, at times this feels almost overpowered, but hey, I'll take that over being underpowered any day of the week. You also have bombs. These are regular screen clearing types and involve calling in some sort of laser strike from a satellite. Visually they're pretty dull, but they do their job effectively and you'll find bomb pickups relatively common once you get beyond the early stages, allowing you to be pretty liberal with their use. Even more so if you choose to continue, since doing that grants you a special pickup which maxes out your shot and loads up your bomb stock to 8. I actually quite like this. If you're going for a 1cc, it doesn't unbalance anything or make any difference at all. But if you're a beginner or credit feeding, it allows you to survive longer and therefore can make things a bit more fun for those just mucking about. There is one other pickup, and that is a points star. This works by granting you more and more points for the amount of stars you've picked up without taking a hit. The first one is just 100 points, the second 500, the third 1000, and from there the value goes up by 1000 each time until it reaches 10,000. With final scores usually ranging only in the hundreds of thousands to low millions category, keeping these stars at the 10,000 mark is obviously a massive part of scoring big. In fact, it's pretty much the only part of scoring big. Other than that, there aren't really any other scoring mechanics to speak of, and you'll probably find yourself finishing the first couple of stages to within a few hundred points every single time. Which is fine, not every game needs some intricate scoring hook, but with no really different or unusual gameplay mechanic either, it does leave Thunder Dragon on the simple side of things. But simple doesn't equal bad, and what Thunder Dragon offers with its simplicity is mostly very enjoyable. The first stage is maybe a bit too easy, but after that you'll be engaged almost all the way, with the difficulty really starting to ramp up in the second half of its 8 stages. Something that adds, perhaps inadvertently, to the difficulty is the appearance of a lot of the bullets. Many of them have quite a light colouring, and these can be very difficult to keep track of when things get busy. Also, with the stage width being larger than the screen display, bullet paths can warp as you move side to side, and I did find this to be the cause of some frustration. Stages are a decent length and there's a decent variety of enemy formations, with some quite unusual surrounding patterns in the later stages, and the pacing of attacks is nicely done with occasional quick breathers, but never enough downtime to let you truly relax or get bored. Enemy types and even bosses do repeat later on, but it's nothing egregious, and overall each stage is quite distinct. Backgrounds offer up a decent mix of locales. You start off in your standard field and water opening stage, but some of the city scenes bring a bit of colour, and with the last couple of stages taking place in space, the terrain never feels repetitive, although the scroll speed is somewhat slow. There is a bit of a disconnect, however, between stages. There are these very short, very basic and fairly charmless animations, but there's not much feel of progressing on any sort of advancing journey. This is especially true when it comes to the end of the game. Usually in shmups, even if you don't really know who or what you're fighting exactly, there is some sort of escalating tension that lets you know when you're nearing the final reckoning. But here, you go through what seems like a pretty regular stage, fight what seems like a pretty regular boss, and then boom, the dev team's names start popping up on the screen. Not the biggest issue in a shmup, but it does all seem a bit sudden. After the credits play, by the way, you will be returned to stage 1, a more difficult stage 1 of course, but my understanding is this is not quite a second loop and that the game will instead just keep throwing stages at you till you die. Music and sound effects are pretty unremarkable, they do their job. The shots and explosions are never grating and the tunes have fittingly pacey rhythm to them, but they're not the type you're going to remember for long after you stop playing. Outside of the main game, on this Arcade Archives release, we actually have two special modes to add some longevity. We have the regular high score mode, which starts you from stage 1 and doesn't let you alter any game conditions, and has an accompanying online leaderboard. We also have a 5-minute caravan mode, and this one comes with a nice little twist that I've been really enjoying. Before starting, you get the choice to either begin from stage 1 or from stage 7, each with their own online board, with stage 7 being a very busy and interesting stage with tons of point stars, power-ups and unusual formations to deal with. It's a really nice idea to offer as an option and a great way to mix things up and differentiate this mode from the regular high score mode. Overall, Thunder Dragon is a pretty simple affair and I don't think anyone's going to be out there calling it a groundbreaking classic. I don't think it's a game to be dismissed either. It's a fairly unspectacular and somewhat generic old school Raiden clone, but more importantly than that, it's an enjoyable old school Raiden clone. I'd give it a 7 out of 10 and I think fans of the less manic style of classic shmups will find a lot to like here. So that's it for Thunder Dragon. At the price and with ACA's extra modes, it's a good one to check out on a rainy day, so let us know if you do that. And thank you as ever for watching. Hope to see you next time. Cheers.